For centuries, the subject of astrology has been debated. Some people consider astrology to be complete nonsense without any scientific proof. That is why it is considered a pseudoscience, which is a collection of beliefs or practices mistakenly regarded as being based on scientific method. Others acknowledge the gravitational force our planet has between the sun and moon, and they conclude that other planets have similar powers, which can be charted through astrology. I'll leave it up to you to decide whether you believe it's fact or fiction, and I'll just be an informant on the subject. There are many other interesting ideas and facts about astrology. They include those such as the basic differences between astrology and astronomy, the zodiac signs and their meanings, and lastly, the idea of retrograde. I mentioned some of the points that define astrology, but now you'll get to hear a little more. Now, some of you may be wondering what astrology and astronomy is, and what's their difference. Over 2,000 years ago, astrology and astronomy were once considered the same science. Some of you may not be able to believe that, but back then, humankind did not have technology like we do nowadays, so all they had were their eyes. They made observations of the way things moved, used that information to predict how they would move, and observed how that could affect us here on Earth. The distinction between the two developed when astrologers went into depth of astrology out of fear of the unknown. But then astrology was soon used to predict weather patterns, natural disasters, war, and so much more. Today, however, astrology and astronomy have distinct differences between them. Astrology studies the position, motion, and properties of the planets, stars, and moon to determine how they affect people and events on our planet. Astronomy is the study of contents within the whole universe. Astronomers use math and science to calculate factual information, while astrologists make predictions observing the motions within our solar system. Now that you have a general background of what astrology is, we can now learn a major component that is used in astrology, known as a zodiac sign. Now, many of you probably know what a zodiac sign and probably know what your own is. But it is the portion of the zodiac which is the apparent path of the sun across the celestial sphere in a year, occupied by the sun at the moment of your birth. Now, the zodiac signs have been around for a long time. It is believed to have been adapted by the Babylonians after having been developed in ancient Egypt more than 3,000 years ago. I'm sure all of you are aware of the 12 signs, or at least know them somewhat. But up until September of 2016, there had only been 12 signs that had been acknowledged. However, the American Space Agency reintroduced the constellation Ophiuchus. The constellation was discovered around the same time as the other 12 were, but 13 zodiac signs did not fit very neatly with the 12-month calendar. As a result, your zodiac sign may have changed. The new Ophiuchus falls between the dates of November 30th and December 17th. So here is an updated chart of where you might lie. So now that you may have figured out what your zodiac sign is, we're going to move on to something else within the sky that affects us, known as retrograde. Now, what is retrograde again? According to Astrology.com, meaning that from the vantage point of the Earth, the planet appears to be spinning backwards. In reality, Earth is just closer to the Sun, and it completes it faster than the other planets outside its orbit, and that's what gives the illusion of the planet appearing to go backwards. Each of the planets, including the Sun and Moon, control a different aspect within our lives. Each planet is associated with a specific asset, but the inner and outer planets can be generalized. The Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, and Mars are the personal planets, and they affect more of our relationships and personalities. Meanwhile, the outer planets, which include Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, they affect our interactions. According to Astrology.com, when a planet goes into retrograde, you experience the energy of the planet in a more subjective, internal way. Now that you have some idea of what astrology is and its components, let's wrap it up. So, maybe you learned something new that you didn't know before. Maybe you already knew all of those things. If there's something that interests you, go and discover something new. Astrology has been something that I've always found interesting, And by writing this paper, I've discovered a lost zodiac sign I never even knew existed. And now I'm considered a Leo, and so I've been reading my horoscopes wrong this whole time. There's so much more to astrology than I could ever put into words, but I'll leave you with this little note. Just like the moon's gravitational force affects the ocean, it affects us. I mean, after all, we are 75% water.